The president appears to be backing off his ambitious timeline for a second crack at health care reform. He previously had said he was hoping for a vote to come this week. Now he says there is, quote, no particular rush. He's focused on other things, obviously, right now. Jessica Tarloff is a Democratic strategist and pollster and senior director of research at Bustle.com. Evan Siegfried is a Republican strategist and author of GOP GPS. I just finally finished it. I know you sent it to me. Let's start off with Obamacare, though. Okay. And the reason I want to start there and kind of how it all fits in is I understood the president to say not long ago that you kind of needed to get that done before you got to tax reform and before you could really talk about spending. Your thoughts?
Well, in defense of the president, what we're talking about for doing the American Health Care Act, the 2.0, he's still talking about doing before tax reform. They're saying tax reform in June, whereas last week he was saying he wanted to do the AHCA 2.0 this week or very soon. And right now they're working on the legislative language and working on a deal, and then they can get it before Congress and have different members in the GOP side and the Democratic side, if there are ones that want to work with us, give their input and help make it a better bill.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that, Jessica? And I want to just go to Mick Mulvaney, who's the OMB director, who talks a little bit about Obamacare, that maybe they are farther along than what we would suspect. Can we watch that together?
There is bill language. In fact, we know, I believe, that the Senate Budget Committee, which is helping us write this language, delivered some language to the House last night, detailed. And keep in mind, these are all tweaks to the bill that was taken up discussed 4 weeks ago, which does exist in bill form and was scored by the CBO. So I don't think it's entirely fair to say that all we have is that piece of paper.
I think it's important to start there tonight because the American public has been waiting to see what would happen. You've got another enrollment period coming up within 6 months from now in November. People are curious about that, and it's still very much on the White House's palate. Obviously, they can hold two thoughts in their head at once.
Yes, they absolutely can. But I think adding on to what Evan was saying, Steve Mnuchin's actually come out there and said that we won't get tax reform until the end of the year. So while other Republicans were saying this summer, he's gone even further. So I understand that it's higher risk then for them to continue to put off health care. I think the issue, though, is what actually is going to be in this bill that's going to get enough votes there, because there are some concerning items there, going after the Medicaid expansion, for instance, going after pre-existing conditions, which was something that Donald Trump promised over and over on the campaign trail.
Pre-existing conditions, it leaves it to the states, and they have
that's
the right
not
to opt out.
Yes, they do have the right to opt out, and then for people who are in Republican-controlled states, the threat there is that they will opt out of it, and there are going to be millions of Americans who are left without coverage when they have pre-existing conditions. That's what you're seeing at the town halls, and you have a rising approval rating for Obamacare as well at the same time that all of this is going on.
And the next box to check in all of this is the midterm election, so those town halls may end up ticking up a little bit in speed. Yeah. And attendance, we'll have to see. Okay, so I wanted to start there, but the more, I would say, pressing deadline, if you will, is next Saturday, and that is the potential for a government shutdown. Speaker Paul Ryan and others with the administration, the president himself today has said, don't anticipate that happening. But on Friday, they started ordering some government agencies to kind of get ready for the potential for that to happen. But that's a cautionary bit.
Right, which is better than not being prepared.
Yeah. Right, absolutely. But the president tweeted this, and I'm wondering if Democrats are going to jump on board, because this is a national security issue. Let's pop up one of his tweets. The Democrats don't want money from budget going to border wall, despite the fact that it will stop drugs and the very bad MS-13 gang members. And then he went on to tweet, eventually, but at a later date, so we can get started early, Mexico will be paying in some form for the badly needed border wall. This is about national security.
To Donald Trump it is.
Are Democrats willing not to get on board with some form of at least starting something with regard to building a wall to keep the government going?
I'm not sure that it's going to be that cut and dry, that it's either going to be wall or bust, as it were. Donald Trump, that's the rhetoric we heard all through the campaign, and it is what his core base. What do I think the negotiation would be? If it's something that Republicans can come forward and say, we want to beef up the number of border agents, for instance, or something that was in the Gang of Eight bill, which actually had more border agents than what we would get out of what Donald Trump wants. I think Democrats can deal on that, but I think it's important for both sides here to avoid a shutdown at any cost. And Republicans, we've talked about this before, will end up being blamed no matter what role Democrats play in this. It's just the way that it goes now since 2013 and that shutdown.
Senator Chuck Schumer said that Democrats might have been on board if they hadn't come tough Republicans with this rather incendiary extraordinary talk, and I'm putting words in his mouth. I'm paraphrasing this tough talk, if you will, in the end about the wall. Your quick thought, and then we'll move on.
Senator Schumer, I can't really respond to him. He says a lot of things, but I think that Senator Schumer...
He's kind of the face of the Democrats right now, so he does talk a lot.
He's one of the many faces vying to be credible to the rest of the country. Democrats have a messaging problem, and people see Chuck Schumer, and he's the cure to insomnia.
All right, so we saw the president recently say, and not that that wasn't funny, but we're running out of time, recently say that maybe 100 days was a ridiculous point, and other presidents have agreed that, you know what, 100 days, you need more than that to see what's really going on. But polling has come out via the Washington Post and ABC News, and some of it is distressing, and some of it is good for the president. The most people in 15 years think the economy's getting better, that sort of thing. Trump voters are still behind him 94%. Evan?
Well, Trump voters of that poll, I would be very happy for our Donald Trump because his supporters, only 2% of them regret even voting for him. They're very happy. I'd also be very distressed if I were a Democrat. Only 28% of the country believes that Democrats understand their concerns. And when you see that, even though Republicans might have a low number as well, but not that low, you see that you're turning, there are a lot of people being turned off by both Republicans and Democrats, and Democrats can't get those people to come out and vote for them.
You know what it sounds like? France.
Let's hope not.
I mean, seriously, the major parties thrown out. I'm sure you're following the election now, and we've got an outsider in the White House.
Donald Trump is following that.
Your last thought.
Closely. My last thought is I see that, and there was also another positive number for Donald Trump in there that he still would have beaten Hillary Clinton in a head-to-head right now.
Oh, you caught that?
I did catch it. Even as a Democrat, I can read that. But what I would say is that approval rating is something that really gets him, and you can tell from his tweeting.
In the 40s, you mean?
Right. It's the lowest, I think, in polling history for any president in the first 100 days, or since Eisenhower it was. And we know that that burns him. The 100 days, yes, it's an invented thing, but it is something that matters a lot to him. And when people say Obama got the stimulus, Bush got the tax cuts, look at FDR, for instance, you know that that's eating away at him, and you can see it through his tweeting.
Right. We do have some executive orders coming on Friday. We'll talk about that when we're together again. Evan, Jessica,
Thanks,
good to
Sarah.
see you.
Yep.
Thank you. Happy Sunday.
Yeah.